Welcome back. In this last video in our series, what we want to do is look at how can I put in custom CSS into a site that's using Bootstrap. Well, it's actually pretty easy. We've actually already seen this way back in about the second or third video, and I'm going to show you how real quick. But more importantly, I'm going to show you some examples of when and why you might want to use this. So right here, I have a page, and I know you can't really tell, but it's got a block quote in it. Let me pull up the page code so you can see it. Now looking at our code, you can see that we have here a block quote with a class of block quote. It's already set up inside my layout, and this is what you would have seen when we talked about typography earlier in a previous example. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create my own style because I want to make this more like what we sometimes call a pull quote. One that's really designed to stand out compared to other text. So I'm going to come over here and create a style tag. Now I can also use a link tag and link to another file. That's fine as well. The key thing you want to do is have it after your link to your Bootstrap file. Okay, so it's going to be afterwards. That way you get all the Bootstrap, and then this overwrites anything that might be there. I'm doing blockquote.blockquote, and that's because I want to make sure this is something that is going to actually use the same class that I have inside of my Bootstrap. You do have to be sometimes careful because Bootstrap will sometimes define things as the exclamation point important, and that overrides any overriding that you might do. So you do have to sometimes be a little careful of that. But in here, I'm just going to set a couple of things and say background color, border radius, I'm going to say 15 pixels, and I'm going to give a border 1 pixel, and it's going to be solid. Then I'm going to give some padding, and this is just once again to make it stand out. Save this, go back to my demo, reload, and now you can see that, hey, this is overriding those features that were already there. Because I'm using the block quote, anything that was there in Bootstrap is defined, and anything I defined, as long as Bootstrap didn't say important, I'm overwriting. So now I have a background color. I have a slight border. You notice it's real subtle, which is what I wanted. I've got a little bit extra padding. I could go in and make it centered or add a background image if I want to. Sometimes you'll see that where it has little quote marks or something like that. I can do these type things very easily by adding additional styles to it. So I'm not limited to what Bootstrap gives me, but I can go a lot further. Let me give you another example. This is something that Bootstrap used to have, and they took out, I can't remember if it's version 4 or version 5, they removed it. But they used to allow you to take an image and then display it as a circle. And they don't do that anymore. So let me show you how we would do that. I'm going to create a second column. I'm simply going to add an image. And I'm going to add a rounded class. If I come back here to my demo, you'll notice that the rounded class has a small, slight rounded edge to it. Very minor, very subtle. It's not a circle like I want. So what I'm going to do is come over here. In my CSS, I'm going to say img.rounded border radius, and I'm going to choose 50%. 50% will give me a full circle. Now, when I come in here and reload this, you notice that, hey, this didn't change. This is an example of where the rounded has the important attached to it. So it's not going to let you change it. Okay? So we have to say, well, how am I going to fix this? Well, I'm going to come over here. Instead of saying rounded, I'm going to say circle. You notice that this doesn't do anything to my image here. Okay, when I go back, you can see all it did is remove the rounded edges from the corner. So this is not built into Bootstrap. But I'm going to change it here. And my CSS is, so I'm saying if I want this image to be a circle, I can come here, reload it, and notice it makes it a circle. Okay, so this is a perfect example of something like this where it works. Now you also might be thinking, well, wait a second, these columns, they didn't stay the same size. Why is that? Well, that's simply because the column took up as much space as was needed by the image. I could go in here and put a maximum size if I wanted to resize it. However, I want to remind you that you should always resize the image itself, not in CSS, because the image will be much larger and take longer to download if you don't resize it there. Now, if we want to resize this image, we can put it in, we can do that. We can do it with CSS if we want to put in a max size or something like that. That's pretty easy to do. We can add that. So I can say max width. Let's say 350 pixels, just as a generic number. And I reload that, and you can see it moves things around. So the column, while it normally puts things in evenly spaced columns, it can adjust things simply based upon how big force content, like an image, is inside my application. So this gives you just some quick ideas of how you can go in and make your own custom CSS to do things that Bootstrap doesn't give you. Now, if you want to go further and say, oh, like, I don't like those colors that gives me. I want to have a different color theme. We're going to come back here to our docs. And if you look here, you'll see themes. And this gives you some of the themes that you can use. And they have these things already built in. They're built using Bootstrap 5. So you can see as you look at these are more than just changing color. These are more like templates. And you say, hey, I want to have an e-commerce template or a social media template or a dashboard type of thing. You can do that here. A lot of these do have a small fee associated with them, but it gets you a good way to start looking at it. So these are themes that you can use from Bootstrap. They're created by it. You can use them. You can also see over here on our left-hand side, we have a customize section where if you want to change and do custom colors and modes and stuff like that, how to enable different things, how to build things with Sass, those types of things, you can look at how to do that. You do have to learn Sass in order to be able to do that, but it is a strong tool that allows you to put custom colors into your themes instead of just having a theme like a template. So something that's interesting that you can look at as well if you need to go beyond just changing certain elements like I showed you. And they'll give you instructions on how to do that if you look through the docs. Hopefully you found this video series helpful. I have a link to the series here if you haven't seen the other videos in it, or you can check out other videos that we have on this channel.